So in the last video we said to be able to round, you need to know two things. Firstly, you need to know what are you rounding to? What are you rounding to? So rounding to question mark. You've got hundreds, we've got tens, units, which we usually call ones. So these are just whole numbers, units. Then we've got a decimal place. Then we've got tenths, so I'll call that tenths. And we've got hundreds. So hundreds. And these are basically, so if you have something like 232.54, then you've got two hundreds, three tens, two units, so two whole numbers, 5 tenths, and 4 hundredths. And this 5 here is the first decimal place, so first decimal place, and this 4 is to 2 decimal places. So first decimal place is just the first place after the decimal, and the second decimal place is the second space after the decimal point. And secondly, so what we need to round to, and secondly we need to know which is the closest number to round to. That's what we need to know secondly. Okay, so let's say for example, let's have
rounding to closest 100.
So we're rounding to 100. Let's start off with 680. So 680. We're rounding to 100. So that's 1, rounding to 100. And we know there's two numbers, two hundreds, one higher and one lower, that is closest to 680. So the lower one, we know that's going to be 600. And the higher one, the one above, will be 700. Now, we can ask ourselves which number is closer from 680. So on the number line, that's 700 there and 600 here. 650 is about there, so 650 is about there. And we know 680 will surely be somewhere around here. So I'll put 680. Okay, so if we're rounding to the nearest 100, well, the nearest 100 is either 700 or 600. And to get to 600, we need to minus 80. And to get to 700, we need to plus 20. So 680 is only 20 away from 700, but 80 away from 600. So to round to the nearest 100, 680 will become 700. Okay, what about if we have 230? So 230 rounding to the nearest 100, we've got one higher and one lower, which will be, the lower one will be 200 and the one next will be 300. So same again, which number is closer to round to? So on the number line, 230 will be somewhere closer to 200, because 250 is about there, so 230 will be about here. So 230 is closer to 200, it's only 30 away, whereas 230 is 70 away from 300. So if we're rounding 230 to the nearest 100, then it's got to be 200. The question is, what happens if we have something like 450? Because surely you must be thinking, well, the lower 100 must be 400. The high number must be 500. So on the number line, that's 500 there, that's 400 here. 450 is about there. And 450 is equally away from 400, 50 away from 400 as it is to 500. So what do we do here then? Well, in this special case, whenever we have something that's equally away from one number as it is to the high number, we always go up. So
we always round up.
And we do this because if we didn't have this rule, then when you ask someone, oh, round this number to the nearest 100, and they might say it's 400, and someone else might say it's 500, and we don't know who's right and who's wrong. So to keep it consistent, to make sure everyone gets the same answer, there's this rule where we always round up. Okay, so there's one more. What if we have something like 30 to the nearest 100? Well, let's think about it. What are the two closest hundreds to 30? Well, one of them is definitely going to be 100. The higher one's 100. And the lower one is actually going to be 0. So this 100 is actually just 100, and this 0 is just 0 hundreds. So if we have our number line like that, then 30 will be about there. So 30, if we round it to the nearest 100, well, 0 is also 100, but there's just 0 hundreds there. So we say 30 will round to 0, because it's closer to 0 than it is to 100. Okay. So there's 3 numbers here, and I just want you to pause this video and try get an answer for each one, rounding it to the nearest 100. Then I'll go through the answers. So if you can pause now. Okay, so for this one, 760, the higher one is 800, and the lower one is going to be 700. And 760 you can quite clearly see will be closer to 800. So we've got, that is our answer, 800. Well done if you got that. For the next one we've got 550. Well, our nearest 100 is going to be 600, and it's going to be 500. So going there, or going there. And because it's 550, it's bang in the middle, equally away from 500 as it is to 600. But remember that rule we had, where if we are bang in the middle, we always round up. So we always round up and we go to 600. So round
up.
If we're in the middle. Right, for this one, 1,290. I haven't quite shown you this one yet, but our nearest 100 is going to be 1,300. Well, that's one of them. And our other number is 1,200. So we're still in the hundreds here, 1,200 and 1,300. And 1,290 is going to be quite a lot closer to 1,300 than it is to 1,200. So the answer is going to be 1,300. So some of you might have realised or found a quicker way, an easier way of rounding, where you don't have to write the high number and the lower number and have a number line. So I'm going to show you that way now. So let's call it easy rounding. Let's go back to rounding to 100. So round
to the nearest 100.
And let's use 230.
230.
So because we're rounding to the nearest 100, remember that's our unit, or tens, and that's our hundreds. So because we're rounding to the nearest hundred, it'd be this number, this 2. This 2 will either stay the same, or it will increase, so it will go up. So this 2 will either stay the same or it will go up, because we're rounding to the nearest 100. So all we need to do is look at this 3. So we'll look at the number next to our most important number. This is our most important number because we're rounding to the nearest 100. So look at the number next to it, and that's this 3. So if this 3, if this number is 4 or less, so 4 or less, so 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, then the number will stay. And if this number is 5 or more, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, then this number will round up. So this number will round up. So let's use 1,250. So we're rounding to the nearest 100. So we look at 100, that's our units, that's our tens, that's our hundreds, and that's our thousands. So we're looking at this one. So this will either stay as 2, so nothing changes, or this will increase to 3, so this will go up. Okay, and it will stay if the number next to it, the number on the right, the 5, so it will stay if this number is 4, 3, 2, and 1, and 0, it will stay as 2. And this number will go up if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And because this number is actually 5, then this will go up. So we're going to have 1,000, this 2 goes up, 1,300. And these numbers become 0. Let's do another example. Let's change it to 10. So rounding to the nearest 10 now. Let's have 37. So nearest 10. So this here, this 3 is our most important number. And this 3 will stay as 3, or it will go up to 4. Go up to 4. And now we'll look at the number next to our 3. There's only one number here, and that's this number here. So next to our 3. And if that number is 4 or less, then that 3 stays. If that number is 5 or more, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, it goes up to 4. And because this 7 is 5 or more, we round up to 4. So this whole number rounds to this 3 becomes 4, and anything after the rounding becomes 0. So 40. And this is the same with rounding to the nearest integer, so the nearest unit, the nearest whole number. So if we had something like 25.42, the nearest integer, the nearest unit, we're looking at this number here, this 5. So this is our most important number. It's our unit, our integer. And this will stay, or it will go up. So we look at the number next to our most important number, and if that number is 4 or less, so 4 or less, then this 5 stays. If it's 5 or more, then this number goes up to 6. So our next number next to our most important number is this 4. This 4 is 4 or less, so this number stays. So this whole number is going to round to, this 2 stays there, so 20, this 5 stays, and then anything after becomes 0. So it's just 25. It doesn't matter what this number is, we're only looking at the most important number and the number directly next to it. So let's do rounding to 1 decimal place.
1 decimal place.
So if we have something like, let's have 2.68. We are rounding to 1 decimal place, so our most important number is this 6. 1 decimal place, so that's this place here. And this number will stay, or it goes up to 7. The next one up is 7, and it will stay if the number directly after it is 4 or less, and it will go up to 7 if the number directly next to it is 5 or more. So the number directly next to it is this 8. And this 8 is definitely 5 or more. And this 8 is 5 or more. So this 6 will go up to 7. So that 2 stays there. 2.6 goes to 7. Anything after it becomes 0. And we can just write that as 2.7. That's 1 decimal place. Okay, so here are some questions for you to try. I want you to round this to 100, this 370. I want to round this 85 to 10. Round this 81.2 to the nearest whole number. And round this 3.14 to the nearest decimal place. So please pause this video now and give it a try, and I'll go through the answers. Okay, so there's 370. This 3 should be our most important number. So we'll look at our next number next to that, and that's 7. And that 7 is 5 or more, so as 3 goes up, so it should be 400. This 85, this is our most important number, that's our tens, and this 5 is the number after it. And 5, we always round up, so it should be 90. The nearest integer, so 81.2, this is our most important number, and the number after that is 2, and 2 is 4 or less, so we go down. So this should be 81. This stays as 81. And round to 1 decimal place, so this 1 here is the most important number, and 4 is 4 or less, so this goes to 3.1. So please do the questions that I've attached to this work. It should be on a Word document. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.